We're live. That's good. I'm always presuming that I'm dead, to be perfectly honest, especially at this ungodly hour in the morning. Today, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a practice stream, and I'm going to be doing some modelling while on the stream. Now, this is a bit difficult as I don't actually have a camera I can point at the thing I'm modelling. So they're sat off camera to one side, so I will show you them at each stage. What I will be doing is I will be basing up these really, really cute little rats that I got from Fenris. I got them for the Frostgrave demos that I'm going to be doing, where large or giant rats like these are one of the low-level enemies. And as we'll be playing with starter warbands, low-level enemies are in order. That's one of them. There are 4 different sculpts in the pack. I'm not sure whether they're a random mix or what they are, but that's another one. Whether you get the same in every pack, I might have to get another pack just to see. And here's the last one. I will be basing these on these, which are Renedra 25mm round plastic bases. They have 2 sides, one of which has a texture on it. The other one is smooth. Now, for a very, very long time, I thought the top was the textured side. It's not. The texture side is meant to give some grip on tables to stop them sliding, because the plastic is really smooth and would slip if you had any sort of hill or slope. So basically, they go rough side down. I've also got some of my very many milliput blocks. Now, these may or may not be used, but I intend to use them because it's Frostgrave to scatter bits of rubble across the bases I'm putting the rats on. I've got several of those in various sizes, and I might build a little mini scene. I also have some unmixed milliput putty. Don't have a box to hand, but basically this is the standard stuff, so it's the least expensive of them, and I use it for everything. In this case, I'll be using it to blend the bases into the ground and possibly to put some bits and pieces of snowdrift on the bases so they look a bit more interesting than just a flat base with sand on them, which is the way I will be finishing them, as well as whatever I do on top of them. So first thing you do, you get some super glue. This is thick super glue, because thick glue is better than thin glue for a lot of things. Thick glue stays where you put it. I wouldn't want to do this with thin glue, and of course it's blocked up, because of course it is. Now we have the painted wire spear for the purposes of unblocking it, and I'll do this off screen. You just ram it like you were ramming a musket. Reason for the spear is the head is actually quite useful for twizzing round. So we will do this one. There's not any glue left in it. Right. I've previously filed the base of the bottom of the base flat with a nice coarse file, and you just stick them on there. I think I've got most of the stuff cleaned up off that, but it's always possible to go back and do them again after they've stuck to the base properly. The file I used is from the now sadly no longer with us, Wilco, but it's just a warding file. This one needs a bit of love from a wire brush because it's clogged with milliput, and when they're clogged like this, they don't work as well as files. But where my wire brush is, anybody knows. It's somewhere in this workshop, I think. This one, I'm going to put one of my milliput rocks on. It's a fairly big chunky rock, and I filed it a bit to sort of square it off a bit so it actually looks like actually worked stone. And I shall get the standing up one because I think he looks good as if he's actually up on a rock, looking about to see if there's any trouble in the local area. And here is another one. Which I will just stick. I'll stick him a little off center because I want to put something to aside, and you don't actually have to have everything so it's all precisely centered, because you measure from the center of the base anyway, so exactly where the figure is sitting on the base isn't as relevant as it might otherwise be. So that's all of them. This is the last one. Again, base. Make sure it's the right side. I'm putting gluing because even though I know it's the right side should be nowadays, I am somewhat of a bugger for still using the wrong one, because having what might be mild case of dyspraxia does actually and very definitely left-right problems, makes modelling interesting. It makes a lot of things interesting, but as I say, you can't get yourself diagnosed these days, and back in the day it was never the problem it has been subsequently. And there is another little rat. Now, as you can see, well, I hope you can see, the rat is a little bit bold from the base. Now we can fix that when I've got rid of the random hair, when that's set a little bit, and that's one of the reasons I got the millet put. So you put a fillet around the base, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. This is really basic stuff, and it's something I do without actually thinking about these days. Millet put is great material for blending the puddle bases on things into the actual base that you're mounting the figure on. It's really convenient on the individual base figures. It's a bit more of a nuisance if you're going to multi-base figures, where other things that are a bit messier and harder to manipulate and have to be painted in there with brushes. And there's a number of products of those, but as I say, the normal thing I use is millet put nowadays. Millet put covered with sand will cover 90% of your issues. I've done it on bigger bases as well, but it's a faff, especially if you have to work round bases. Mostly these days, my multi-bases are weapon crews, where you've got 2 or 3 crew on a base with a heavy weapon. I've got some about. I would have to fish them out of the boxes, but I will probably be showing you how to do that, how I do those later. Basically, you paint the figures individually on a cardboard replaceable base. You then peel that base off or soak it off, and then you glue the figure to the permanent base and blend it into that with this method. Now, I'm giving the super glue a little time to go off, because this is the UK, and super glue in the UK has a slight retarder in it, I believe, so that it's harder to stick your fingers together. Unlike the surgical stuff, which will stick skin to skin in less time than it takes me to say that. But once it's gone off, and as I say, I'm giving it a few minutes to go off while I'm chatting to you, I will then make up some millet put, and I will sort of blur the edges and put some snow things on. Basically, these will look very much like the little pieces of scatter scenery that I have been posting on my group, Evil Ginger Miniatures and Scenic Painting. I will try to remember to put the link in the bottom, in the description, so you can actually have a look at what I've been doing. If I had streaming software, I'd probably cut in a photograph because I've got pictures, but I need to get some streaming software, and then I need to learn how to use it, because this is all new YouTuber stuff. So bear with me on that one while I waffle on a little bit more and give the chance for everything to, everything to set properly. Now, I think this one was the first one I did. So that's all done. And I'll take these off and I will put my patented and in serious need of replacement magnifying glasses. These are 3.5 Sainsbury's reader glasses with a 4.5 flip down clip on that I bought off eBay at some point, and again I need to replace these. Yes, 4.5 or 3.5, I can't actually read, but basically anything between 3 and 4 is useful. As I say, these are 3.5s. They're the strongest ones that the Sainsbury's use, and I use the Sainsbury's ones because they've got nice spring-loaded sides, and I've got quite a wide head, and I tend to snap the less spring-loaded ones off. But that's a disposable magnification system for about a tenner. I use lighting. My lighting is always off because I don't like having the thing hanging off my head. I have tried those. They annoy me. A bit like painting handles. They're not something I'm used to, and they're not something I've got the patience to get used to. So I'm just going to lean off now, and I'm going to turn on the light so I'll actually see what I'm doing properly. I may be cursing as I trip over things because my workshop is a teeny bit full of everything. Now we've got a bit more light, and I shall put these on, and you'll get to see that after me at work. Again, Milliput 50-50 mix generally, but you can vary it a little bit. This is the hardener, which is in this case, the darker of the two. It's a sort of a greyish colour. Always work it before you mix it into the soft stuff, because the soft stuff is generally, the other part of the resin is generally soft, but this can get quite hard. And if you work it with your fingers before you apply it, itchy nose, it will be much more workable and easier to mix in evenly, because you want to mix it evenly, because if you don't, you'll often end up with bits that with stuff that won't set properly, and if it doesn't cure, you want it to cure basically, and you want effectively the same amount of both. As I say, you can get away with a little less than exactly the same. I don't think I've got quite the same amount of both here, but it's close. The yellowish stuff is the other one, and you just mix them together, and you mix them together with your fingers. Now wash your hands after you've done this before you touch any food or anything, because it won't get through your skin, but Milliput is slightly toxic if you eat it, and I'm getting a terrible itchy nose, as I would do if I'm always on camera. Don't normally get itchy noses, but I am at the moment. Delightful. You mix it until it's even in colour, and sometimes, if you've got enough of it, you'll feel some warmth as the reaction of it curing has started as you're mixing it, and that usually means you've got it mixed really well. I'm not getting that at the moment, but it should be a uniform colour. It looks an awful lot like the soft bit, which, if I remember, is a little bit yellower. I buy this stuff by the outer. It's really, really useful, and we get the rat. We roll this into a little fillet, usually on a work table, not on my laptop, but if it's a flat surface and it's available, I'll use it. And then you'll get a little fillet, and you'll put it right round the edge of the base. You can use tools to do this, but you know, you've got your fingers, so why not use that? And I will occasionally flip the tail out the way, because the tail is, nice thing about metal figures is you can bend stuff up. And I've noticed there's a bit of flash on the end of the tail, which I will need to get rid of before I paint it, but I don't have to get rid of now. I'm using this wire spear as a tool to make sure it's all blended in and there are no gaps between the puddle base the figure's on and the main and the putty. And that's the first one done. Next one is going to be a slightly more complicated one. And I think I've just discovered that I have got not enough of this putty to do the job, because you've got two stages of the putty. You either have too much or too little. Usually I have too much, which is why I've got all these little bricks about. But this tonight, we're going to have the too little, so I'm going to have to make another load of it. The other thing is, you can shape milliput works. You can dampen it. Now I shouldn't have done what I just did, which is licked my finger because of what I said about the toxicity. But I'm okay. I'm a pro, and I did chemistry at school, so the chances are I've probably poisoned myself. I might be like that famous Greek king that had to kill himself with a sword because he'd eaten so much poison he was immune to it. Yeah, as I say, I recommend having a little damp pad for this sort of thing, but it's over which damp pad you can make out of pretty much any piece of foam that you and I'm going to put a little bit of a fillet around the bottom of the rock. Not that it needs it, but I'm intending to make it look on the top like a piece of snowdrift. And this will look much the same as my little scatter scenery. Now I need some more putty, so going over, getting some more putty. And again, you get approximately the right amount, the same amount of each. And you work the hardener first, so they're soft enough to mix easily. And I'm doing this at the moment because I've got some figures that I am in process of varnishing that need to dry. And I'm using gloss varnish at the moment, and it's an old school enamel yacht varnish, also from the now late lamented Wilco. And you put a coat on that first, and one of the figures I managed to flick the shield off. Now, I normally stick the shields on with green stuff, but it's quite an exposed shield, so you can see the back of it. So I really need to get some brown stuff, which is exactly the same stuff, netherite, but it's brown. And as the back of the shield is wooden brown, it'll look like a pad in the hand grip. Now keep rolling this until it warms up. We've done two of them. Might put a little bit more around that big stone because I think it might need a bit of but I'll do the other two figures first. So this will get turned, if there's any left of this, it will get turned into milliput rocks. So I will have used 4 and probably got at least 1 back. Again, you roll it into a sausage. A skill I picked up at a very, very early age when I used to play with plasticine, to the point that I turned my bedroom carpet into lino. Plasticine also, incidentally, if you mix all the colours together, comes out a really nice certain material brown. So it's quite easy to convince siblings that it's what it looks like. I was a horrible brother, but it amused me, and I was annoyed. by their existence. But I wasn't the one who said that my baby brother ought to go back to the hospital because we'd had enough of him after 2 weeks. Honest. Right, so we're fiddling about with this, and we're putting a little bit of a fillet round the stone again. So you get, again, a bit of a slope and a sort of a ramp. Doesn't matter if it's not entirely even, because you're going to smooth it out with, it's going to have sand on top of it. It's just to make it look a bit better and a bit more even. And yes, I have got another piece. I'm going to have too much. So I should use that up immediately, I think. And probably add an extra rock to the one of the piles, so it looks like a little bit of mini wall. Again, doing it all around the figure, flattening it down. Now, milliput, once it's applied, takes about 2 to 3 hours to go off. You can speed it up if you want to, but that requires heat. In this, it's quicker than green stuff, which has its own strengths. The main strength of green stuff is it better for use with, it holds detail better than milliput. Milliput is really just a filler. You can do basic stuff with with milliput, and I often do things like put mason's marks on stones and things, and wear marks. It'll do those fine, but if you want anything better than that, you need a sculpting putty. I use milliput. I use green stuff for that, and generally, but there are other ones. I think bees putty, or there's various other ones than that. So we're going to put a little bit in there of the fresh stuff, so it's the 2 stones are level, which they're not, and then I will plop this one across over the top, and I will find, so you've got that, so you've effectively got a stone with a piece of snow around it and rat looking from behind it. And I shall put the rest of this, which is a tiny little fillet, just around the bottom of the stone, so we've got snow all the way around it. And later this morning, I will almost certainly be priming these. I brush prime everything, and because I can't handle sprays very well, they give me asthma, which I haven't got, which is very annoying. And because I don't have asthma, I don't have the medication, the reliever around, which makes breathing easier after I've got a lungful of them. And it doesn't matter how ventilated the room, for the first few seconds after an aerosol spray has gone off, I feel like my chest is about to collapse on me. And it's not fun. But I'll put them to one side. They're all done now. And I will probably be posting a photograph of those in a moment or two, because I can handle them by the edge of the base. And if you want to see that, come over to Evil Ginger Miniatures and Scenic Painting on Facebook, and you'll see them in all their glory as a group shot. Take care, and that's it for now. And thank you very much for watching, or for watching at any point in the future. Bye.